Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, very excited to bring some more Stranger of Paradise again. The game did release on Steam, finally, last week, and I've been speedrunning as much as I can, since, you know, I have a lot of knowledge from the game after dumping thousands of hours on the PS5 version. I wanted to hop on PC, because it's much more accessible there, and I enjoy just playing on PC in general. So I rebought the game, I've been speedrunning it, I've been grinding out as much as I can, flying through the game, and basically trying to perfect that summoner build that, you know, I never really got around to finishing on console. So it's pretty much perfect. The build I have right now isn't actually perfect, but I do know what I want, so I will mention what is missing from this. It's only literally a chess piece, so, you know, you don't have to worry about not being able to copy it. Of course, this is a summoner build, so you will want to use summoner. The type of summoner you use does not matter. I just like using advanced summoning because it has a slightly easier to use bonus ability from Evocation, but nothing else matters. You do not need any of these. You don't want to use the regular summoner though because you lose stats, but it doesn't matter which one of these you choose, so yeah. So for job affinities, a lot of this is pretty much the same as before. But I have swapped around a few things and taken out a few of the more useless job affinities that I didn't really know what to do with, and added a few things that are going to help us in the long run, really. So, first off, we still have 600 Dragoon, which is going to increase the break damage dealt when we target an enemy weakness. It's also going to increase our attack speed with Lightbringer active. It's going to finisher things with a Soul Burst when we defeat them with an action ability. And we also have recover HP and MP when exploiting an enemy weakness. A lot of this will be explained as the build, you know, goes on, but everything here is very, very important and is always going to be active. So definitely spec into 600 Dragoon. I don't recommend going for anything less. You don't need 800 if you can get it and somehow can still manage everything else I have in the build. Go for it. But 600 is completely mandatory. Now, previously, I had 600 Dark Knight, however, I have opted to go for just 400 because the 600 ability really isn't needed. It just basically recovers more HP, but with how much HP I'm already gaining, it was kind of useless, considering when I have Lightbringer active, I'm completely invincible, so this wasn't needed. I've removed it now, and we're just going for 400, which is going to activate all of the near-death abilities at all times. So no matter what they are, and no matter how much health I have, they'll always be active with this, so that's really nice. You also increase damage dealt when being targeted by an enemy, which is probably going to be up all the time, because enemies love to target you, especially bosses, so this is really powerful. And then we have near-death stuff as well to build into this, which is going to work with Last Resort, which is really nice. Then I have 400% Breaker, which is going to increase damage dealt after a Soul Burst. Very powerful. It stacks up to 5 times. I'm not sure exactly how much damage it's granting. The game doesn't really tell you that information. But it does go to ×5, and the damage is pretty good, so, you know, definitely worth speccing into. Power Seeker is very good as well. It gives you additional strength. You do want strength because Bahamut heavily relies on that. And then we also get more MP restored with successful Soul Bursts. So you can already see we have a lot of Soul Burst stuff going on from Dragoon and also now Breaker. Now, Evoker. I did not have Evoker last time in the previous build because I had what is called a Dust Shard. I don't have the Dust Shard on PC yet, but I do have the Lionheart, which gives Invincible. What Invincible does is make you completely invulnerable when you're in Lightbringer. That is usually the 400% Knight ability, So because I don't need Knight anymore, because I have that, I decided to swap out Knight and go for Evoker instead, which honestly is only here for the 400%, because that's what the Dust Shard does, right? It restores your MP when your HP is at maximum, which is going to stop MP from passively draining while on Bahamut. So this is very, very OP. Completely mandatory, you need this to stop that passive MP drain. So yeah, that's why I have this in here. Although it does have a few extra bonuses, like using a potion cures status ailments, very good for the higher tiers of the Labyrinth. And it also gives strength, which is really good for Bahamut. So yep, you need 400% for Clear Mind. However, if you do already have a Dust Shard, then you can swap out Evoker for Knight instead. If you have a Lionheart though, go for Evoker. Next up we have the 250 ability from Summoner, which is going to decrease the sustained MP cost. Very powerful, very good on Bahamut. We also have Chain Cancelling, MP max increase. Nothing else really matters here except from the stats and the 250 ability, so definitely go for that. Next up we have White Mage. Normally, this is the part that isn't perfect in my build. I would normally have this at 250% for the Spirit increase, which is going to give me magic defense. But the main thing you want really is just 120, because that's going to increase your buff duration, which is very powerful, so definitely go for that. Next I have Ninja, which I also want at 250, which is possible, I just haven't done it yet. And that's going to make critical hits reduce the enemy's max break gauge, which is very strong as well. It's very easy to get crits, so that's just nice. But also you want this for the stats, and you want this for the 120 ability, which is going to increase MP recovery from normal attacks when something is afflicted with a status ailment. Odin is what is going to be doing this. So you can see down there I have my primary blessing as Odin, which is when I do physical damage, it's going to build up a debuff that causes vulnerability to all attacks, which is similar to what Mighty Strikes does, except it actually applies a real debuff rather than a buff to yourself, which is going to activate this. It's going to activate the 120 ability here, which is going to increase my MP recovery from normal attacks. Really good for Bahamut. Next up, we have Samurai at 160. This is about as high as you want to go just for the stats, but the main thing you want this for is the 120, which is going to increase or reduce the MP casting cost of action abilities, which is also really good for Bahamut because it means that you won't be using as much MP with the big attacks, which is really good. And then I have added both Paladin and Tyrant, which was not present on the old build. It's only 50, it's just from the shield, but it's enough to get a little bit of status ailment accumulation increase, and also increases break damage dealt when an HP is at max, which we've already spec'd into previously in the build. So these are just nice things to have on, to make Odin go faster, and also to do more damage. And that's it for this. That is it for the job affinities. Very straightforward. Of course, again, on your actual gear, you want Lightbringer Duration, Strength, during Lightbringer damage dealt, or near-death damage dealt. They're the only things you want to spec into. And of course, you just want things that reduce the command ability cost or buff their ability, either by duration or the actual effect. And that's pretty much it. You can also spec into summon damage increase, which I have done here. That's also very strong. However, it's not really necessary. You're already like 4-shotting bosses at level 500 with Dragon King debuffs, so you know, you don't need that, but you can go into it if you want. Of course, for the command abilities again, we want Lancet, Lunatic, and Mighty Strikes. So what Mighty Strikes is doing is it's basically going to make every attack we deal on an enemy weak. And when you pair that with Lancet, you will recover HP and MP, similar to the Dragoon ability at 600. It's basically the same thing, actually. And they do stack, so you're going to get a lot of MP and a lot of HP when you pair that with Mighty Strikes and Odin. And then Lunatic is just going to increase our attack speed, which also stacks with Dragoon 400, so that's really strong. Again, you will be using Lightbringer. Don't use 𝐁𝐮𝐢𝐵𝐵𝐺 or Dimension Bringer. Dimension Bringer does work, it is very strong, but it lasts like 3 seconds, so you're not going to get much use out of that. 𝐁𝐻𝐿𝐵𝐵𝐺 completely tanks your maximum MP, so you don't want to use that. Lightbringer is just busted straight up with this build, so definitely be, you know, running that one. And that's pretty much the build. for this. If you're wondering about the sub job, all you really need is anything that boosts chain cancelling. You definitely want Evoker 400, you definitely want Summoner in here. Everything else is up to you. I've just opted for things that are being, you know, benefited by chain cancelling, because that's the whole idea of the second build, or the second job, is that you chain cancel to get max MP for this. And that's pretty much it, so that's the build. Of course, I'll have gameplay, probably at the start and the end, just showing off the build. I guess, real quick, I'll show the job mastery points, because they only matter for Summoner anyway. So I have a bit of strength, bit of intellect, Summoner job to clean up to 250. You want to max out near death, of course, you want to max out these two as well. And then you just want really either of these three. Of course, I don't have Summoner fully maxed out, so I can't actually, you know, go too hard on some of these. But eventually down the line, I will be able to do that. So, yep, enjoy the gameplay, thanks for watching guys, and adios.
Time for a change.
To the other side.
Crush you! I hold wrong. Die, die, die!